Hello everyone, my name is Josh and this is the Teams Recap. It's been a couple weeks since the last episode, and this week we have a lot of Teams ground to cover with just pretty much a dash of Skype for Business ground, but we'll get to that in a second here. And as has been the custom for the last two whole episodes, I have a guest host with me again today, fellow MVP Anthony Carrigal. Anthony, thanks for joining me. Please introduce yourself and let people know what you're up to these days.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks for having me on. I guess I've been an MVP since 2014, so all the way back to the Link days, not too far back, though. Just a little bit about me. I do go by Anthony. You see in the back it says C. Anthony Carrigal, and some people ask me about that, but it's Anthony. My father's actually Charles. But I work for a partner right here in Chicagoland. It's called SWC Technology Partners, and I'm actually in the field a lot. So I work a lot with enterprise voice and Microsoft phone systems as it hits Skype and Teams and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I appreciate you coming on. Before I get too deep into the show or forget or anything like that, I'm going to stand up a little taller here and throw a little shout out to PEXIP. Thank you guys for making the recording of this show possible. The recording software I previously used wasn't quite up to the task of having guests and all that good stuff that come with a normal show. So I was looking for a solution, and the team over at PEXIP was so kind as to make their platform available for recording the show. So thank you guys. We definitely appreciate it. Okay, with that, let's jump over to some content. I've got several tabs today, a lot of tabs, and we are going to go right into sharing those and talking first up. Actually, we're going to start with Skype for Business, and then pretty much go into Teams for the whole rest of all the tabs, I think, pretty much. So that's just kind of the way things are these days if you've been paying attention at all. All right, got our screen share. Let me know if you can see that, Anthony.
I can see it.
You can see it. Awesome. So here we go. We're going to jump right into this tweet from another MVP, Michael LaMontagne, letting us know that the Skype for Business Server 2015 debugging tools got an update. Why is this a big deal? Because for the last many months, the debugging tools, when you download them and try to run them from a Skype for Business server, have had, I don't even recall the exact error you get, but it's just been this terrible error that has plagued people for months and months now. You've seen a bit of this, correct, Anthony?
Yeah, so it looks like it was actually compiled with a newer version of Visual C++, and it's asking for the 2015 redistributable. Sometimes even when you'd install it, if you went ahead and tried and get the distributable in there, it wouldn't recognize it, or if you could get it up and running, it would just flat out crash on you. The product group's been aware of it, but it's taken a little bit of time to get to this point where we finally got a new update out there.
Yeah, and the first time I saw it, I started trying to go through some of the troubleshooting, and then I was like, all right, let's turn to Google. Surely someone else has come across this, and sure enough, another MVP in Australia, Greg Sheridan, had blogged about it and was kind of updating his blog as little bits of information came out. And as we can see we go down this thread here. Greg gave it a shot. Appears that he got a good version of it downloaded. And then, as Anthony pointed out to me as we were getting ready to do the show here, it looks like there are some CDN issues. Some people are getting different versions of the debugging tools. And
So what I noticed was even today I was just playing around with it. The site says it's updated, but when I run the download, I'm still getting the old copy. Now, Greg's got a valid copy. He can confirm that it is updated and it does run just fine. But the copy that I was pulling today and the copy that a few other people are pulling is identical to the one that was broken. So it may take a little bit of time to replicate and get out there, but it should be available.
Yeah, a little more patience, grain of salt here. Hopefully we'll be there soon. Hopefully we won't be debugging our debugging tools before long. All right, let's switch gears from Skype for Business over to the Teams world, because there is no shortage of information to discuss there.
Oh, there's been a ton of updates.
A ton of updates. It's getting hard to keep up with it all, honestly. Being someone who tries to keep up and and makes a point of doing that, it is difficult to stay in the know about it.
Right.
I think part of that is because guys like you and me, we're traditionally, at least the last several years, right? We're Microsoft UC, telephony, Skype for Business, like Teams. Yeah, that's a big part of Teams, but there's so much more going on in Teams. And so we kind of get looped into Teams as Skype for Business pros, but there's a lot more to know and keep up with when it comes to Teams. People just assume, oh, you know Teams, or you work with Teams because of the calling and the chat and all that, then you must know this. And it's hard to keep up.
Well, yeah, the telephony used to move at a snail's pace. Still kind of
Right.
does. The Skype server link, you'd get an update every few years. And even in the cloud, you get a lot of updates. But this is just insane. They are working they are just putting so much into this product that the updates hit so fast that it seems like every few days there's something new. And it's hard to keep track of, was that there before or was that – it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And if you're part of any kind of early access programs or anything like that, or you're just like, is this, am I looking at the right feature that's out there or not? And it gets confusing with as fast as they're able to develop and put features out. But here we've got one of these tools that makes it a little easier to keep it all straight, the roadmap. Microsoft put this out, I want to say it was early fourth quarter. I guess it could have been the end of third. It was early fourth quarter last year, right? They initially put out the roadmap for the Skype for Business to Microsoft Teams capabilities, and they have updated it due to all the things that did hit at the end of Q4 2017 and what has already hit in Q1 of 2018. As we scroll through the fluff, because we don't really want to deal with all that, let's get straight down to the screenshots of what's important here.
And they have been remarkable. Sorry to interrupt, but they have been remarkable in actually hitting these the goals that they set for themselves. It's I don't want to say unprecedented, but it's refreshing. Yes.
Yeah. There was a lot of people who look at the roadmap and thought, yeah, okay, well, we'll see about that. But I think, like you said, remarkably, this product group has done an incredible job at nearly hitting the mark exactly on their timeline. So, yes, good call out. And as we look at this format changes a little bit here to what's coming. Now we've got, okay, what's available today, and in that column we see a ton of what was projected for the on the last roadmap. And as we look at messaging, we can see there's a lot of check marks of what's already there today, and a few items that are still left for us coming up in Q1 of 2018. So the notable thing about this slide is that you don't see a roadmap past Q1 of 2018 when it comes to messaging. They plan on having all their updates to messaging done by the end of this first quarter. We're already, partway through February, so that's pretty quick. I won't read through them line by line here, but we've got, a couple important items like unified presence, sharing and muting chat, contact groups, which the groups is a big deal. Federation shows up in here as well, interop, and then some of your policies for the IT pros are still on the roadmap, and then a ton of things that are already done over here. So yeah, we should be at a point where this slide might not even be around the next time they update this thing, right? Or else it'll be there to brag about everything they finished.
Well, hopefully, yeah, because Federated is huge, and Unified Presence has been an ask since day one.
It has, and Federation is like, the guest access situation is workable for many people, but it's less than desirable for a lot of people as well. So Federation is a big deal that we're hoping to see for a lot of reasons.
Oh yeah.
Let's jump down to the meetings roadmap here. Now there's a very big column here for what's available today. A lot of work was done there. There's a lot of really important pieces that are there. So that's great, especially when it comes to your browser support. Having meetings without plugins now within Teams, that's awesome. You got audio conferencing, lobby support, anonymous join. We'll get to those in a minute. Several things in here. But then coming up for the second quarter of 2018, and again, I want to call that out. We don't have a roadmap here for beyond second quarter of 2018. So halfway through the year, we're looking at our meetings being up to what they're projecting it to be. But there are a number of very intriguing pieces in this second quarter here. Broadcast capabilities, federation again, large meeting support, PSTN fallback, PowerPoint load and share, whiteboarding, very big part of Microsoft's collaboration story as of late. VTC interop services, your room systems, right? Your hubs and all that, that's in there. Trio, One Touch, Teams, Meeting, Join. Of course, that's dependent upon third parties, Polycom. And then a couple more policy type items when it comes to your IT pros. So
yeah, I oddly enough, there's a couple things I'm really you might not guess what I'm excited about here, but the Trio One Touch Meetings Join is big because we've still got, there's still a little bit of struggle even internally at my company over the Teams adoption. People just fall right back to Skype, and walking into a meeting room and not having that one-touch join keeps people creating a lot of meetings in Skype for Business still. So I'd love to see that flipped over to Trio. I really can't wait. And also the whiteboarding. I don't know a whole lot about what's coming, but I'm hoping they're using the new Microsoft Whiteboard. So there's a new the new whiteboarding features and functionalities where I've been playing this a lot more Surface Hub like, if you will. So rather than just kind of the old junk that's in Skype, I don't mean to call it junk, but the new stuff is fantastic.
It is great. You got to imagine that they're heading in a direction where all these tools use that same experience on the back end. I would hope so.
Oh, I sure hope.
But I mean, there's a lot to look forward here on the meeting side. It's good to see we got federation coming up in both these areas by the end of the second quarter. So meetings are going to get quite a lot done there. Where is the one I'm looking here? I skipped right over this, but this is the one I'm super excited for. Cloud recordings. As was demoed at Ignite, cloud recording, the ability to record these meetings and then play them back and using them for discovery purposes and transcribing all the spoken words and searching through a video by spoken word, just incredible. I can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome. All right, let's jump down to calling here. Now calling, we've got some items going all the way to the end of the year. However, I think the important piece here, aside from calling out all the amazing work that they did to get calling into Teams by the end of last quarter and all these check marks, green check marks we see that are awesome, it's very important to call out what's coming up in the the first half of this year. Because pretty much once we're done with the first half of this year, we'll have feature parity with what's in Skype for Business Online. So from a callings perspective, there's going to be very little reason, if any, to opt to make a migration to Skype for Business Online instead of straight into Teams, right? So we've got a whole bunch of items here. Blind transfer, it came through available today. There's blind transfer, call blocking, call forwarding. I'm not going to go down the list in entirety.
Right. No, it's more that kind of that peer-to-peer calling. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is still that. You've got, but they have the Skype for Business and Teams calling, which is there now. That's great. Your call quality diagnostic portal integration, the interop policies via PowerShell, which you were having a little bit of fun with earlier today, and voicemail, like you said, peer-to-peer. A lot of that important stuff is already there.
Yeah.
But what's coming is some of these more enterprise-like features, right? Your call queues, your auto attendants, your boss delegate scenarios, your down here. Hybrid connection to Teams. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I have a Microsoft phone system number just so I can a calling plan with the phone number just so I can really be using Teams right now for calling. But I'll be happy to go back to my old number once hybrid support's there.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to use everything that was already in hybrid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a few more things that are coming at the end of the second quarter. So again, by the end of the second quarter of this year, Teams versus Skype for Business Online, there's not going to really be any reason that you wouldn't be using Teams versus Skype for Business Online in terms of what you can do. the items that are left for fourth quarter of 2018. And these are for Teams, on the Teams roadmap. I don't believe these are going to make their way into Skype for Business Online. I don't believe. Well, same backend, so I don't know. But we've got a few things that have been lacking for a long time in the cloud that were on-prem, and things that held some people back from migrating. And 4 of them: Call Park, Group Call Pickup, Location-Based Routing, which just came to Mac clients and everything, a pretty big deal. And then Shared Line Appearance, which is another big one. So by the end of the year, calling in Teams is going to be a pretty robust and enterprise-ready solution for a lot of organizations. Again, not all. Cloud's not always the right answer, but this is quite the roadmap we have in front of us, and quite the bit of progress already made. All right. Yeah, that's just more fluff down there. If you want to read over the slides.
Whoa. You're missing some great stuff here. Look at this. Platform and devices, though. Support for existing certified SIP phones. Oh, my gosh. So I'm using Teams for my calling app.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't miss this. I'm using
you got
Teams
quiet
for my.
For a minute, and I thought you were done. So there we go.
So I use Teams as my primary calling right now, just because I'm eating it and breathing it, because that's what people are really asking me about these days. However, because all my inbound calls are coming into Teams right now, my desk phone's not ringing. And I love my desk phone. I know maybe the ultimate goal of some is to get rid of them altogether, but I still love my desk phone. I love just being able to grab it, and it doesn't matter what tenant I'm logged into. It doesn't matter if my laptop's open and closed. I can just grab that phone. So I'm actually really, really excited about that one, and I didn't want to let you off the hook without
it's a great call out, because you're not alone. There are a ton of people that just prefer to have that phone there. They like the phone to ring and to be able to pick it up while they're sitting at their desk. That's the norm for them, and they want to keep up with that. And I know that specifically has been a bit of a blocker for early Teams adopters in some cases. So you are absolutely right to slow down there and call that one out. That is a big deal. And that is second quarter of 2018. So a lot to look forward to as we move to the next couple months here. If you want to read any of this stuff for either existing Skype customers or new to Teams, whatever, like always, I'll put the links to these tabs in the YouTube video description so you can check it out there. Okay, let's jump on over to another MVP, another MVP's blog, Tom Arbuthnot of Modality Systems. He put together a good post on 5 of the new features from Teams that came out. This is all stuff that pretty much happened since my last episode, so a great way for me to kind of recap some of these items here. And of course, he lists them out in the top here. We're going to go over, fairly briefly, but the command box, cards from apps and chat, personal apps, space, the WhoBot, and then the App Store. So we'll slide right on down here. Oh, Tom, your blog and its cool tricks. All right, there we go. All right, so this new command box with slash commands. Have you played around much with this, Anthony?
I have. There's a lot of them that aren't. So there's a lot of slash commands in there, and I like the idea of having the shortcuts. Not all of these are real exciting to me. What I think, I'm never going to type /busy.
They're for power users, right? And people that are.
Yeah, even still, but there are some that are really cool. The slash mentions is cool. The slash activity is cool. And I'm not sure slash files does exactly what it says, but also cool if it can show me recent files I've worked with, like it says it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, there's and it doesn't show up in the screenshot here, but there's slash call. So you can place a call right there. The thing I like about it is as you type in a slash and then do one of these commands, it then prompts you for the next thing. It's like, okay, you don't just have to, like you're in some sort of command line. You don't have to type out the whole thing. You type in slash call, and then it's like, okay, now type in a person's name, right? So or number or whatever. It prompts you what to do next. It's intelligent in that way, and I like that. One of the things I recommended that I was surprised they don't have as a slash command, so I'd submitted it as feedback, was a slash chat. They don't have a command for chatting in the in the collaboration chat app of choice. So
Why
I
don't they
recommended
have
that.
that?
Yeah, it's kind of, I thought that was a bit funny. So I recommended that. And I was told, actually, I'm not the first one to recommend that. So maybe we'll see that at some point. But yeah, there's commands that you can do, slashes, and it's in this box right at the top of your client here. So, and I noticed when this first was announced, I was looking in my client for it. It wasn't there, and I had to actually sign completely out of it, sign back in, because I did the whole check for updates, and it said you're up to date, you're good to go. I'm like, well, I don't see the updates. What's going on? And I signed out, signed back in, and boom, they were all there. I told other people on my team, they did the same thing, and it was there. So if you, for some reason, still don't see this in your client, try logging out and logging back in. But yeah, you get the general idea here. There's a number of ways that you just shortcuts for interacting with apps or commands or things to do without navigating throughout the client. You can just command at the top. So there we go. Here's an example of the here, @news, @places, weather, YouTube, cool things like that. Cards from apps and chat. So as he says here, integrated apps can now show information in card format directly in chat. For example, there's no need to take a screenshot of a Trello card as a post and then post it into a chat. So within the chat, you can see the apps. You click on the little ellipsis down there, right? And aside from all the other options you have in a chat, this ellipsis gives you extras. And here's all the different pieces, the apps that have been added in. So you can click on one of those, and it creates this little card that gets put into the chat window there with different ways to interact with the app depending on what it is. Or, like he says, you can mention an app such as Trello and then search for the card. All right, so the personal app space. Microsoft, he says, is positioning Teams as your one-stop shop for productivity. I don't think anyone had any question about that when it came to Teams. Now you can get the personal apps from within Teams by over here, again, the ellipsis underneath your main menu options. Click on that, and the apps that you have installed show up there, OneNote, Planner. So just a place for you to keep track of little apps that you've installed specific to you.
Yeah, it's almost like a favorites for your apps, which is
right. Handy, keeps them all in a place, I guess.
Yeah.
WhoBot. So also under the personal apps, your WhoBot allows you to search for people in your org by name or topic. This is powered by the Office 365 graph, as he shows here. But you go into your personal app space, go to the Who app, and you see it's kind of like a team almost. You've got your conversation with the WhoBot. Then you've got a couple other things in here, upcoming meetings and your org and about. So you can, here we go, Tom Morgan, another MVP that works with Tom. Looked up Tom Morgan here, and he just typed in who is Tom Morgan, and the WhoBot came back with all this stuff and gives you quite a bit of info on that person right there within the app. So especially good for larger companies where you're trying to get the who's who on different teams or people you might be having meetings with or working with. Maybe slightly stalkerish on some level, right? But still useful and cool. So
yeah, it's it'll keep it from going to those Outlook contact properties, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's other ways to interact with the WhoBot, as he points it up here with your /who. And then lastly, the Microsoft Teams App Store. So if we look down at the bottom left-hand corner, kind of where the sign, your picture and your menu options used to be down here, there's now a button for the store. And by the way, that is all up here now. Your picture, your sign in and out, your settings, and then you can click right here to see your main tenant or guest tenants if you're part of those. So they did a little bit of changing around when they put this command box up here. And there's now the store app over here as well. And clicking on it takes you to this store of all kinds of different apps that are available for you to use within Teams. There's a lot in here, probably way more than you'll ever end up using. But it goes to the, talk about the extensibility of what you can do with Teams and how much it can integrate with other pieces and parts and tools out there.
Right. That's the announcement that I found to be really exciting, was the store and just the ease at getting at things.
Yeah.
The ability to assign it to your own personal space. As soon as this dropped, I started loading up things that I'd never even considered using before, just to monkey around with it.
Right.
And I think I'm going to move forward with it. I think it's actually helping me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if you take a little bit of time to explore too, it'll get the gears turning, right? It'll make you start thinking about, I didn't even really stop to think that I might be able to do that in Teams. And if I'm already doing all this other stuff in Teams and I can pull that into it, well, wow, maybe I'm really going to speed up my processes and streamline my workflows and be a little more productive. So this is a cool new development. As he mentions down here, this was all these updates. This was a massive update that came out in the last week or two here. A lot to take in. Like we discussed earlier, it can be a bit overwhelming, but a lot to take in. Very good stuff. And Tom, as always, thanks for putting this together for us and keeping us informed. Next up, Flow integration in Microsoft Teams. Flow, I am fascinated by this, and I haven't dug into it enough or spent enough time really learning the ins and outs. But some Flow integration has been built into Teams, and this is over at this article in particular is at flow.microsoft.com. But like we talked about earlier, you go to the store, step one, right, and you find Flow and install it. Pretty easy process there. Once it's installed, you can create a new flow right from within Teams. There's templates that you can use if you want to. Otherwise, you can create your own flow. If you've done a quick and easy template and you're starting to feel a little more comfortable with how you might be able to create a flow of some value that actually streamlines something for you. An example they give here: start approval for new documents and notify via Teams. You're clicking on the template, opening your Flow Designer. This is just cool, and the fact that it's all done within Teams is so cool to me. I started editing a whole bunch of my documents within Teams too. I don't know about you, but Word documents, PowerPoint, Excel, I'm doing all of that stuff in Teams now.
Right, and as more of the organization starts moving over to Teams, and I suppose it really depends on how much adoption your firm has around the entire Office 365 suite, and if you're using SharePoint and workflows and things like that. And that's really what this article is specifically about, is talking about, I think this one's actually talking about workflows and approvals within Skype, within Teams.
Same thing, right?
And just setting it, sure, why not? It's just when Teams really becomes when Teams is really adopted as the 365 Uber client for communications and collaboration and all that, bringing it all in here and letting you do approvals and things from that from this tool just makes sense, and I love to see how easy they're making it. One of the things
that is really easy.
Yeah, a lot of the theme around all of this stuff is they're making it ridiculously easy.
Yeah, you don't have to sit there and code it all out, right? I mean, you get this wizard that guides you through it. Look at this picture. It just walks you right down the whole process, shows you how it all connects together. It's incredible.
And that's helpful because while new features are hitting what seems like daily, there's nothing's going to take you hours and hours and hours to learn or relearn or trash the old way of doing it. They're all very, very simple methods to move forward.
They are, yeah. So we see here your trigger. So for this example, when a file is created, that's going to trigger this flow. Then what we're going to do, we're going to post a message in the Teams. Then you click Create Flow, and you go through and do your approvals in here, just as they show you in the article. Now, there's a little bit of detail that I'm skipping over as I go through this. I'm really covering this at a very high level. I would highly encourage anyone that is intrigued by all that can be done with this whole process, that you think you might be able to utilize flows in some way, or you need to start exploring, check out this link in the YouTube video description, read all about it, learn what to do with it. If flow by itself maybe overwhelmed you at the thought of it before, but now you see that it's integrated in Teams and it maybe seems a little more easy to start digging into, check it out. Go to the App Store, start using it. Use one of the pre-built templates just to play with. and I think it'll get the juices flowing and make you realize this isn't as big of a thing as I thought it might be to learn. So, yeah. All right. Flow in Teams. Next up. Told you we had a lot of Teams news today. Okay, here we go. Another bit of new, a blog post from Martin Bohm, who recently actually was just awarded MVP. So huge congrats to Martin on that. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
But he put this, yeah, it was just like this last month, right?
Yeah, February 1st, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Breaking
Martin
news.
It is great news. He's been super active for a long time. I have referenced his stuff so much on the show. Very, very well deserved. So, in this post, he's going over a first look at anonymous join, lobby, and then Edge and Chrome support for Teams. And I love how Martin always approaches these things. He gives you a little bit of backstory, and then he walks you through it. He gives you here the backstory where we're looking at the roadmap and where these things line up. And then he says, let's get into this. Let's go have our meeting. And as you start walking through, we schedule a meeting in Teams. He opens it up. He goes to join via Edge, clicks join on web, video preview right away. He's not installing anything. There's no plugins here. Now he enters his full name. He chose Bruce Wayne for his example. Cool. And then he joins the meeting, and we see, hey, Bruce Wayne, someone in the meeting should let you in soon. He is waiting in the lobby. From the desktop client, as the organizer, he goes in and he sees up in the upper right-hand corner that little notification right there over the contacts or the attendees, and it says waiting in lobby, Bruce Wayne. Kick him out or admit him. And it's pretty smooth, easy process. Next on, he moves to, video shared, sharing from the desktop client, view of the guest via Edge browser. So he's going back through some of the interaction of this meeting in the browser. Let's see. You can't share from the browser though, so that's one of those things. If you've been this is one of the things about how well Microsoft has done the client across browser, desktop, phones. They have done an amazing job at having almost all the features across all the different platforms. I've been super impressed by that, and almost from day one. But there are a couple key limitations, and when it comes to meetings in the browsers, that is one thing that is there that you should be aware of. You can't share from a browser. Right. All right, so we got microphone muted here, mute participants as the organizer, another one of those new items. Adding some chat, might be asked for feedback. All right, now he tried Chrome, went through this whole process with Chrome. Again, there are no plugins or anything like that to install. You just go through that same process, wait in the lobby, then you get admitted. Pretty slick. So
yeah, I followed the same. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I haven't kicked the tires myself actually on this yet. So it's always helpful to have someone like Martin type it all up and be able to see how they did it and what they did and what the experience was like.
Yeah, I did kick the tires. I used Martin's article and I just followed his step through and it just works.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Literally just worked. It was easy. I did Edge and Chrome. Video audio was right there.
Yeah.
No plugins as advertised. Just awesome.
It is. The plugins have been such a pain point for such a long time and such a difficult conversation with customers. Mm-hmm. Having a solution that you can point them at and say, look, this roadmap, when it wraps up, for the most part, mid-year, you're going to have all these options without, you can do your meetings without plugins, you can record them, it's going to be an amazing story to tell. It already is a pretty incredible story to tell, but when that roadmap is finished, stuff like this that has been asked for so long in the Skype for Business, this is just a welcome thing to see. So, excuse me. All right. jumping over to the Microsoft Teams App Studio. Now, I'm going to admit, I'm going to do a lot of high leveling talking here because I'm not a dev. It's not my deal. Never claimed to be. And I like to always refer to those that are, like Tom Morgan out there is an excellent one, and a few others. And we'll get over to a bit of that actually in a moment here. But the Teams App Studio is out in preview now. This was announced 31st of January. And yeah, if we go down here, what they say about the Teams App Studio, it was created to simplify and streamline the process of creating real apps. So it's much faster than the manual process that is described in the whole getting started with Node.js. The Studio is now the recommended way to develop your Teams apps. They give you a link to the getting started documentation there. Apps for Teams are made up from two parts. The functionality of the app is hosted on a web server, and then the definition of the app is contained in an application package that Teams use to find and display your app functionality. The app package is what you upload to Teams when you first test your app. One thing I will say is that there are some interesting little overviews, again, high level, of developing and bots, etc., within Teams that will be part of a session for the Skype user group that currently operates within the U.S. at about 21 locations. So those meetings are kicking off around the country right now and over the next few weeks. If you're anywhere near those, I would highly recommend that you register at skypeug.com, show up, get a free meal, listen to some cool content, and maybe learn a little bit more about dev stuff. End of shameless plug. Maybe not end. I work in Tampa. I do the one in Tampa. So if you want to fly down or register for that, that would be awesome. But I can't provide airfare or room and board for that at all. So sorry.
If you're heading to the one in Chicago or Downers Grove, I'll be there too.
There you go.
So this is actually really cool. So I'm not a dev either, but I'm old enough that my degree is computer science.
I am too, it's with the computer science.
That was the only computer real degree offered to me.
Right.
But I started life as a dev. I actually worked my way through college as a software developer. So I built up enough skills that I still love to monkey around in this stuff. And so I've put together the bots and all that, but I'm not strong in it anymore by any stretch. So one of the things I actually like about this is the only way I ever got any of this stuff really working before was to completely copy somebody else's code and paste it and then try to hack it up a little bit at a time. What's cool about this is this does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It lets you it creates that manifest where that's where your name is, that's where your unique ID is, and the like. But it also lets you do some UX stuff pretty easily, and you can manipulate it later. Basically, what it does is you kind of fill out some simple forms here, or you click what you want, and it just gives you a code export, or it'll show you the code that you can then copy and paste. So rather than completely ripping off somebody else and hacking it up if you're not a developer, but you want to put something together cool, this can actually speed you right along. Of course, you have to find some place to host it all.
Copying someone else's work and hacking it up, I look at that as why reinvent the wheel, right? I've been there a lot, so that's how I'm most comfortable coding is when someone's already done the heavy lifting for me.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But this though, like you said, this is really cool because you look at this. This is all this is within Teams here. We got all these different tabs. It gives you a familiar Teams experience. It walks you through this. It makes building an app actually a conceivable, achievable thing for non-devs, right? Mm-hmm. You could walk yourself through this if you were interested in figuring out how to set something up. Of course, if you want to do really super cool things with them, you probably need to get some pretty hefty dev skills going behind that. But this is a really cool new tool. This gives you a brief walkthrough. What I want to do is jump over to the next tab. This is Tom Morgan, again, MVP over at Modality Systems, and he is a dev. And he does a little video walkthrough on this App Studio. So short blog post, but and the video is fairly short too. It's not too long. but long enough to take you through a brief tour and walkthrough of using the App Studio, and just shows you how you really can achieve this. Even if you're not a dev, you can learn this and walk through it without a whole lot of trouble. It is an amazing tool. So I highly recommend you watch the video just for curiosity's sake, if nothing else. But you might find yourself building a couple apps. Who knows?
I recommend you watch all of Tom's videos. So one thing I love about Tom is, at me not being a dev, when Tom makes his videos, he speaks to you in simple. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to really know much about coding at all to follow along his videos. So he's got some where he will step you through creating a bot, or step you through creating this or that, and he makes it so simple that I'm, within a few minutes, boom, I've got a bot too.
Yeah.
And then you can move on from there and try the different frameworks and things like that. It's a lot of fun. But I really appreciate Tom's contributions and just let me being able to monkey around and pretend I'm a developer too, just at least so I can speak to it and understand the power behind it.
And that's key, right? You don't have to be the developer yourself, but especially when it comes to what's going on in teams, it behooves us to be able to speak about it in an intelligent way, to know what's going on, to know what's needed for the stuff to happen.
Well, to spot those opportunities, yeah.
Right. And like you said, Tom really does break it down in a way that is easily consumable for your average non-developing IT pro. So good call out. All right, believe it or not, what is it, 15 tabs in, that is the end of the content there. Let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen. There we go. Okay, that's all we got for content today. Anthony, again, I want to say a huge thank you for joining me today. Thanks for chiming in and offering your thoughts on stuff, for catching me where I left stuff out. I appreciate it, keeping me on my toes. Any last parting words for the audience before we shut this thing down?
No, just I'll hit again. Hey, if you're anywhere near one of these Skype user groups, just go to skypeug.com to find out. Show up, because they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of people there, and it's just a good time to go out, chat. Some of us grab beers afterwards. All in all, a great time.
It's a great networking opportunity, a perfect way to meet people that are local in the community that do what you do. There's always a meal provided. The content is always, right on point with what's new and what you need to know, and some of it gets in depth at times. And then on top of that, there are usually a door prize or two handed out from our sponsors. And so, highly encourage everyone that may be thinking about that to make a trip. There is a handy little map on the website if you are curious where all the locations are. Check it out, and hopefully later this year we may even see ourselves go a bit international at some point. So still in the works on that. Thanks again, Anthony. That's all I've got today.
Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. We shall see you here in a few weeks at MVP Summit. And thank you everyone for joining. I hope the video was helpful and informative. If it was, please retweet and share it. If it wasn't, go ahead and send me a scathing email about how awful I made something and tell me how I could do it better. Always open to that. But that's all we got for today. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Adios.